Hello and welcome. This is Kyle, aka AlienTude here, with another review, this time of the Ronin Katana Dojo Pro Tanto No. 1. For those of you who might be new here, and as a reminder to returning viewers, let me introduce myself. I'm an amateur collector of reproductions of historical weapons, primarily focusing on medieval European swords. I have no training in martial arts, and I'm not well versed in history. I'm just a guy that likes pointy steel sticks. During this review, I'm going to be talking about the specific Ronin Katana Tanto I received. I don't know if it's a representative example of their Dojo Pro Tanto line, or an outlier, as it's the only Tanto of theirs I've handled. I may reference the reputation I've seen Ronin Katana have online, but keep in mind that's pretty much hearsay. So, the Dojo Pro Tanto No. 1. Ronin Katana has 3 different models of Tanto in this line, appropriately enough numbered 1 to 3. The MSRP is $125 US, but it seems like they're permanently discounted to $65, both on Ronin Katana's website and on Cult of Athena, which is where I bought mine. It comes factory sharpened, as do all Ronin Katana products if I'm not mistaken. Ronin Katana is a company that focuses on budget range swords. Their blades are forged in Longchuan, China, sorry if I messed that pronunciation up, and that is where the vast majority of production swords sold these days are made. They have several lines of katanas at different price points, with a wide variety of fittings to suit your taste. They've also built up a respectable European sword line. Before doing this review, I disassembled the Tanto. This was the first Japanese weapon I've ever disassembled, so I can't compare the difficulty of doing it to anything else. Let me tell you, it was not easy to take it apart. Getting the Makugi out was simple enough. I took a dulled nail and gave it a couple gentle taps with that and a hammer. Getting the tsuka off after that required a lot of force, and then the Habaki was even trickier. It got stuck on the Nakago, enough that I had to take an oak shaft, place it parallel to the blade against the Habaki, and whack it with a hammer with a lot of force. Eventually, I was able to get it apart. Putting it back together required more whacks and even more force. Let's take a look at the fittings. Up first is the kashira. It's cast from some unknown metal. Cult of Athena lists it simply as antique finished metal. And the casting quality is alright. There's some detail in here, but you can tell the mold has been used a lot. Not that this is surprising, or even really a downside on a budget weapon. The kashira is held tightly to the ska, with no wiggle at all, even after I manhandled things apart and then back together. The Ito does bunch up in places against it, but it doesn't cause any discomfort when used. Speaking of the Ito, I assume this is cotton, although I don't see any reference to the material on the listings. The wrap is fairly loose. I can move it around too easily in my opinion. It's loosened up a bit since I had to use so much force to disassemble the blade, but even before then it was looser than I would prefer. Luckily it doesn't seem to impair use because I didn't notice any issues with my grip. Traditionally, the Ito would be wrapped with alternating knots. You can see here these don't alternate. The transition from the Ito to the Fuchi is very clean and well done. There's no ledge here to catch my fingers. Ronin Katana includes 1 Minuki on this Tanto. I really have no idea what the design is supposed to be, but the casting quality seems about on par with the other fittings. Decent enough for the price, but nothing special. This one looks like it's made of brass. It is affixed amazingly well. My manhandling of the ska did not budge it. Under the Ito are panels of Samegawa. They're pretty humdrum in quality. All the nodules are small and there's nothing special about them. That said, it is authentic Samegawa, not a plastic fake, which is plenty fine for a budget Tanto. The ska core is wood, and unfortunately it's got a large crack near the spine, and a smaller one forming near the edge. This could have happened when I disassembled the Tanto, or it could have come like this. Either way, it implies a lack of durability that will probably keep me from using the Tanto too much. The Fuchi is made of the same unknown metal as the kashira, and it fits the same theme. The casting quality is pretty similar as well. We have 2 brass seppas that are here to do their job and pretty much nothing else. There's nothing special about them, and nothing wrong with them either. The Tsuba is made of iron. It looks like all 3 of Ronin Katana's Dojo Pro Tantos use the same Tsuba, and it's an attractive shape that works effectively to keep the hand from sliding up the blade. The edges are chamfered, and I don't feel any discomfort from them. I like the simplicity in the design here. Looking at the Habaki, it's a pretty generic brass one that fits better than I would expect for this low price. Getting it off the blade was a challenge, getting it back on even more so. There's a good amount of scuff marks on it from the fit to the saya. It's a little too tight. Bringing us to the saya. It's a wood core and has a medium shiny black lacquer finish. The koiguchi has a line in the lacquer that makes it look like it's a different piece, echoing the look of a horn koiguchi, but I'm pretty confident this is simply another piece of wood, rather than actual horn. There's a couple of dings in the lacquer, but those are from my clumsy handling. It came pristine. The kurigata is nicely blended into the rest of the saya, although the shitadome do come loose. The cotton sageo is nothing remarkable. Don't worry about the knot, it's just a quick one I tied after the original came loose. As I mentioned, the fit of the saya to the blade is a bit tight at the habaki. It's also a bit loose for the rest of the blade. There's a good amount of rattle here. That's completely unsurprising at this price point though. Let's take a look at the Nakago. There's very little attention to detail here. The lines waver quite a bit, and the drilled hole has prominent burrs left over. Both the burrs and uneven lines contributed to the difficulty of putting everything back together. That said, this isn't a disaster of a Nakago or anything like that. It's just bare bones. For $65, I don't really expect anything else. Moving on to the blade. This is a through-hardened blade made of 1060 steel. That means it doesn't have a natural hamon, and I'm glad it doesn't have one of the wire-brushed fake ones. It's got an interesting dual bohee design. The bohees are ground pretty evenly and well, and the overall blade geometry is well done. The bevel from the shinogi to the edge is very clean, and it comes to a very nicely sharpened edge. There's no yokote in this design, and the kasaki's spine has been reinforced, which should lead to good durability in the thrust. I think this overall design is most similar to an anakubi zukuri, although I don't think those traditionally have the dual bohai. I could very well be wrong here, as I just don't know enough about Japanese swords to say with any degree of confidence. There are a few scratches on the blade from cutting, but also from the amount of force sometimes required to draw the tanto from the saya. There's also some marks or discolorations near the tip. I'm not sure where they came from, but they haven't seemed to impact performance at all. That leads into performance. First off, let me reiterate that I am a beginner at cutting. I have no training, and I'm learning as I go. I do plan on joining a local HEMA club once I am vaccinated, so hopefully I'll be able to get some solid instruction soon. Even then though, that'll be with European swords, so how well it will translate to Japanese swords is up for debate. Keep this in mind during this footage. Failed cuts are more likely to be my fault than the blades. That being said, the Ronin Katana Tanto really impressed me. I had no problems indexing the blade, and controlling where it was going was easy as well. My current cutting targets are pool noodles and water bottles. Pool noodles may seem like they'd be an easy target to cut, but if you haven't tried it, you'd be surprised. If you don't have proper edge alignment and technique, they'll just bounce out of the way. I find them a good, inexpensive target. This Tanto sliced through the pool noodles with ease, delivering clean cuts with very little tearing. I really enjoyed my time cutting with this blade. It was responsive, easy to grip, and it just plain worked. On water bottles, it cut pretty well, although I wasn't able to leave the bottom of the bottle on the stand. That's most likely my fault though. For $65 US, I think this is a great buy. It's an attractive Tanto with a great edge. The fit and finish is alright, especially for the price. I'm not sure I'd recommend it at the full MSRP, but it's been listed at $65 for months now, so I tend to think that's the normal price at this point. To me, this seems to be a great introduction to Japanese blades. It's inexpensive, but still good quality. It could appeal to lovers of both knives and swords. I haven't handled any of Ronin Katana's katana lines, but if the Dojo Pro Tanto is representative of their Japanese sword lines, I think they're worth looking into. Alright, that's going to wrap up this review. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, or if it was useful to you in some way, please consider giving a like and subscribe. Until next time, Alien Toot out.